All right, starting the stream here on May 4th. Wait for the link.
May the fourth be with you.
Oh, I've not heard that one today.
James Harrison's birthday today. How about that?
41 years young. How about that?
I bet that guy could still get a sack or two if
I
he
think
needed
he
to.
could. Yeah, absolutely. All right, let me pull up the chat here. As always, thanks for everyone who pops into the chat. As usual, Dave, Brian, and I doing our Monday live stream, 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Time, answering any and all of your Steelers-related questions. Give it a couple minutes, let the chat fill up. Mutated Genome, always one of the first guys here. Appreciate that. How you doing?
Almost forgot what night. Well, I might start setting my alarm for these things.
Well, I
Oh,
usually message you, and I didn't this time because I almost forgot myself. Been a busy day.
where's the link to the? Did you push it out on Twitter or no?
I just started the stream. It should be on
Okay.
my channel though. If you just pull it up on there, there's a bit of a lag. It takes like an extra 30 seconds for it to appear to other people. But okay, it says Dave is echoing again. We'll get some more people in here. Let me know if Dave's audio is a little funky or not. Is the audio clear, the Mutated Genome? Because his level should be good. I don't think it's an issue of him being too quiet.
Testing 1 2 3. Testing. Hello.
Let us know how that sounds. It's hard to know exactly what you mean by echoing. I don't know if there's some sort of feedback we're getting here, but get some more people in the chat. Feel free to drop your Steelers questions in the comments. Again, we'll be here for the next hour. It says, yes, clear, just robot sounding.
Too much echo, huh? I'm not sure what's up with that.
Yeah, it sounds fine on my end. Dave sounds crystal clear to me, and without an echo. Too much echo. I can try to turn down his volume a little bit, maybe. I don't know if that's going to do anything or not. Thanks, Steve. Paul, thanks for being here. I've turned
Testing. Am I echoing now?
Yeah, it sounds fine in my headset at least, so it's hard for me to really know what might be the issue there. How does Dave sound, everybody? And while the chat fills up, again, you have a question, feel free to drop it in the comments. We have Dave's 53-man roster prediction on here. Yep, thank you, Paul, for being here.
So Dave's a robot.
Dave's a robot. I don't know what that issue could be. And it does not sound like that on my end. Someone says it sounds fine. Allie Howard, let us know if Dave sounds okay or not.
Testing 1 2 3. Test. Hello. Testing. I have been pounding a lot of tape these last few days.
You've been really in that Maryland tape, haven't you?
Mm-hmm.
So we'll talk a little Anthony McFarland as we kind of let the chat come in. You looked at McFarland, a couple things. We just looked at his receptions, right? Him as a receiver out of the backfield. There's not a lot of tape there, but what was your impression of him?
I tell you, they should have used him more. Okay. They should have used him a lot more out of the backfield. Really impressive. You know, he only had 20 something. How many receptions do I have up there? 20.
Should be 24. Yeah.
24 for 199 yards and a touchdown. And you know, the thing about that is he's got good hands. You know, it's hard to tell much with him as far as being a route runner goes, because a lot of them he was either sent out in motion out to the side to getting the ball out in space that way, or he's running those option routes, 4 yards out and then 5 yards out and then cutting, away from the linebacker there. I think both times that was out on those choice routes there. But we saw one time against Bowling Green him run that wheel route, and he got loose there, and you'd like to see that kind of stuff. He's the kind of guy that you're going to want to get out in space. And I see Wes put in there, McFarland isn't going to break many tackles. Wes, you might want to go back and look at that tape, brother. He can break tackles. He can break tackles indeed. Look at the reception against Syracuse in 2018 for sure, out in space there. So the unique thing about him that really warms you up to McFarland is the fact that he can run in between the tackles. He can break tackles. He can home run people on top of it as well too. So the deeper that you get into him, the more impressive.
Yeah, I think there are some misnomers with his game. I think Steelers.com had their Maryland's head coach on today, Mike Locksley, that said, this guy's not just speed. He's toughness. You can run inside. He obviously battled that ankle sprain for basically all of 2019. And so he's, in Locksley's mind, of course, he's a little biased. He's the complete package. So I'm with you. The more I learn about this guy, the more I get excited about it. I still harbor those same concerns at nose tackle and safety, but from a pure talent standpoint, I think McFarland can certainly be a talented player and is a talented player and can bring an element to this offense that this team's been missing for quite some time.
You're not gonna. Here's the thing. He's almost like a poor man's, Edward Hilaire along those lines. And all. Obviously he's smallish at 5'8", but he's, there's zero comparisons to him and Dree Archer and Chris Rainey. Let's get that done right now.
Mm-hmm.
Zero comparisons because this guy can take a lick in between the tackles there as well too, and he, once he gets going forward, he gets there in a hurry. He can hit creases in a hurry. He really kind of flew under my radar, and I know Daniel did a profile on him before the draft and all, but I should have paid it more mind and went a little bit deeper in him at the time because it's understandable why the Steelers liked him from all different angles now. Now I still have to research his pass protection, and there's not a lot out there,
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to that. But he passes all the other, tests, the mustard test elsewhere, carrying the football and catching the football out of the backfield.
Gabar says he's built very similar to Mark Ingram. Don't sleep on him. Do you have any sort of NFL comp for McFarland? I don't think I have one, but you've watched him more.
Freeman. Yeah. Freeman.
Okay.
Really plays a lot like Devontae Freeman. Probably's got a little bit quicker burst than Freeman, but that would probably be one of the better ones, I think, right there.
Yeah, which is hopefully a little more durable than Devonta. You were talking Devonta Freeman, right? Not Royce Freeman, I assume. Okay, gotcha. Corey asks, can we take it in on the goal line? I guess that was in reference to McFarland, and I think Mutated Genome with a question, is he a one-cut runner? So how do you view McFarland in short yardage, and is he a one-cut runner?
You can use him in short yard, just not his specialty. I think his success rate on 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1 carries is like 50 or 55%. Okay, and that's 3rd and 4th with 1 to 3 yards to go. Now, at times their offensive line, what and all that. That's I would much rather put someone like a Benny Snell or a James Conner, out there in short yards. He can do it. It's just not. I don't expect the Steelers to use him a lot in that role. He's going to be more of a 1st and 2nd down back and maybe a third and long type back or along those lines there. Now he's still is he a guy that you're going to let touch the ball 20-something times a game? No, I don't think so. But I think you can get him easily, 10 to 15 snaps a game and put the football in his hands 6 or 7 times.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And then was that with the one-cut runner too? You view him as a one-cut runner?
You don't see him dance around much, man.
Mm-hmm.
He usually hits it and goes. Now a lot of times they'll try to work him out to the edge and all, and he'll gain the corner that way and all. But there's not a lot of hesitation with him picking and choosing back there in the backfield. However, there are a few times where you'll see him, and this is one of the things I think goes underrated when scouting running backs here is making something out of nothing when things go wrong in the backfield, either with the blocking or whatnot. You can see him. Look, you'd rather have 2 yards than lose 2 yards, right?
Right.
And he has the ability, I think, to sidestep that way. But he's pretty much a one cut and go. He doesn't waste any time back there in the backfield. And one of the bright spots with him, I think, is his ability to gain the edge. And I think you pointed that out in your post on him, that he will make people pay even taking good angles
Mm-hmm.
on him. Now, once again, is he an every down back? I don't think so. I mean, I think it's a bit much to consider him a Devontae Freeman in that aspect there. But I think he's a guy that, like I said, I think he can put the football in his hands 7 to 10 times a game, and what you're banking on is he'll home run somebody, or he'll get you a couple explosive plays.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, again, I refer to him as an angle buster, someone that defeats angles and leverage by defenders routinely, and that's when you know you have serious speed. Mutated Genome says that Dave's mic is better now. I did make one adjustment to my software, so hopefully that will have fixed it. We'll keep trying to play with it. I'm getting a new headset, hopefully by this time next week, too, so maybe that'll take care of potentially some of the problems. Corey S. says, sounds...
Wait.
Mm-hmm.
Wes asked if he was so good, why did he fall so far? I mean, I don't understand. Uh, I don't understand the logic. I mean, he was what was he like the eighth or ninth? What was he, ninth or 10th running back taken? I forget what he was overall. I mean, look, this is a 2-year kid coming out of Maryland that only caught 20 something passes. And dealt with an ankle injury last year
Mm-hmm.
as well too. And coming out of a program, and plus, I mean, obviously, look, he's undersized, and that's the other thing is a lot of teams are not looking at him, and I'm sure didn't look at him as an every down back. So that is going to cause a guy like that to be around the 4th round there. But I mean, look, Alex and I talked ad nauseum on the podcast before the draft. Either this team takes a running back with their first pick, or they don't take one at all. I can see why they waited. I can see why they chose a guy like Anthony McFarland. You'll warm up to him the more film you look at. You just can't be biased on these things just because you don't like the pick. You got to drill down into the tape.
Yeah, I would say there's two reasons why he fell to the 4th round. The strength of the running back class. This was a really good running back class, better than the last couple of years, and so that just naturally pushes everybody down. And then B, the ankle injury that you mentioned, just wasn't healthy all year. That certainly hurt him. Redshirt sophomore coming out, it's not like he was a senior where you knew he was going to be eligible, so some teams may have been late to scouting him, less information on him because he's an underclassman in a crazy year like this. So I think that ankle injury, had he had the same year in 2019 as he had in 2018, where the dude rushed for nearly 8 yards a carry, I doubt he's going to be a 4th-round pick. So I think that answers your question, hopefully well enough, Wes. Corey S. says, sounds like McFarland's strengths matched Snell's weaknesses and vice versa. That's exciting for the future, right? Yeah, that's where I like the pick, just because it was a yin to the yang, or a yang to the yin of the way this team is drafted, with Snell and Connor and Bell and Samuels and Dwyer, and the list goes on and on. So it's nice to get somebody that breaks that mold, that has speed and just wins in a different way than most other backs that this team has drafted. So that's the part that's really exciting to me. Wade Johnson says these guys have the worst radio voices. I'm sorry, Wade Johnson. If you're looking for radio, though, my dude, you've come to the wrong place, because we are on YouTube. Wes again asks, so Dave, you've seen a lot of broken tackles. I don't know how you want to quantify a lot, but how would you respond to that?
I mean, he breaks them.
Okay.
Plain and simple. I mean, obviously,
it's not a concern. You're not worried about his power.
No. I mean, look.
Overall.
I mean, it's hard to arm tackle the lower half of his body. Plain and simple.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, there's a couple of times, I forget the games exactly. Him take on contact and spin off of him. That way. I mean, is he a Jonathan Taylor? That kind of break tackles? No, but I mean, he does. I've got a lot of clips of him and contextualizations up on the site. With videos of plays, you can see him break some tackles.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this guy isn't a first contact. And here's the other thing about him is when you do contact him, he's usually falling forward and usually 2 or 3 extra yards there. So look, like I said, I was against a running back, but you got to get past the fact that they picked a running back and then start breaking down and scouting a player and try to do so without a bias creeping in there. And if you do that, I think people will warm up to him.
Paul Brown, switching topics. Who's going to win the right tackle battle, Chooks or Banner, or does Filer go right tackle and Dawson start at left guard? I think Filer's a heavy favorite to start at left guard. For him to go back to really stay at right tackle, I think Chooks and Banner both have to fall apart completely. I think that right tackle spot's the biggest battle of camp. I think it's the biggest toss-up. gun to my head, I would lean Okorafor just because every time that they've had an issue at right tackle, whether that's the Denver game last year or the Rams game, or 2 years ago in the Rams game last year, Okorafor's been the guy. But I could really see that battle go either way right now, Dave. Where do you come in?
Yeah, two dogs, one bone. I'm
Mm-hmm.
excited to watch it play out. I'll tell you that because I mean, Okorafor, he did all right in that start against Denver, but he had a little bit of help,
He had a
right?
lot of bit of help
Uh,
for that game, which is fair. First start ever against Von Miller. You want to give that guy all the help you can.
Right, and you can't judge the man's entire career off of one start there. But I mean, look, the team sounds confident in one of those two, so I don't think you anoint one or the other. And I mean, look, who thought Filer would be able to play as well as he did? You
Mm-hmm.
know,
Is he the most
uh,
underrated Steeler by the Steelers fan base? Is that Matt Filer, do you think?
it might be.
He's
It
up
might
there.
be. Look, I mean, he surprised me. The job that he'd done the last almost two full seasons there
Mm-hmm.
at right tackle. So yeah, let me. Here's the thing. You never know how. We don't think Dotson's going to come along that quickly. But what if Dotson progresses faster than what you maybe think, and then can somehow get that left guard job at some point? What do you do if here's the thing. Filer's going to be 2020 and probably done.
You think?
As far as the Steelers go, I can't see him. It's hard for me to imagine where we sit here right now in May that 2020 won't be Filer's final season in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I haven't thought about it a whole lot. I'd be a little more optimistic, but I guess it would be where would he start? I guess the best path would be that the right tackle job, even if someone wins it, goes poorly, or Core Banner struggles, or if Banner wins it and then he walks and they got to make a choice. I'm not sure, but that's fair because you got a lot of free agent linemen coming up. Villanueva, Filer, and Banner, all free agents after this year. Certainly not all three will be back, and will they even re-sign two of those guys? Do you think? I mean, I'm not asking that rhetorically, but do you think that two of those three end up coming back?
Of who? Filer who?
Of Villanueva, Filer, and Banner.
I could potentially see all those guys being
Really?
gone.
I can't see all
Yeah.
three being gone. That would
Yeah.
just decimate
I
your
mean,
line. You don't have the depth for that right now.
I mean, I don't be surprised is all I'm saying because I mean we'll see who they end up having to pay. I mean, look, we know Cam Hayward's going to get paid this summer, right?
Mm-hmm.
We know Watt's going to get paid by the start of the 2021 season.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
We have to see what's going to happen with Bud, but between now and July 15th, and we're going to have to see what happens with Juju. At some point, it doesn't look like anything's going to happen with Juju this offseason. So that would leave next offseason before the start of free agency to potentially get something done with him, unless they want to use the tag on him, which I kind of doubt. We'll see how 2020 goes for him, but. Filer, I mean, look, I could see and what are you going to do with Alejandro Villanueva? He's criminally underpaid right now,
Mm-hmm.
but you're probably not going to do a deal with him right now. Do a deal with him right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I think there's a potential. I'm not saying it's slam dunk, but I think it's potential. All three of those guys you mentioned not be back.
Yeah, what did Bouchette say? I know it's only his speculation, not a report, but he thinks that Connor's not going to return. Smith-Schuster's not likely. His words, not mine, to return. Villanueva will probably not be retained either. Long ways to go. Bouchette's not gospel on this. This isn't a report, but his opinion. So we'll see. Some big decisions at a lot of key free agents next year. Jesse, how do I say that loud? I'll just say Jesse O. Did they use McFarland, to go back to that? Did they use Anthony McFarland on gadget plays in college? I didn't see any gadget plays with him unless you count jet sweeps as gadget, which I really don't.
Matt Canada likes using that, doesn't he?
Mm-hmm.
And that's look. You're going to see if they use McFarland, like I think they're going to use McFarland in 2020's rookie season. You're going to see, I think, some jet sweep variations like that. I really like that wheel that they ran against Bowling Green. Boy, if you get the right matchup on a linebacker or a safety, McFarland will just run away.
Mm-hmm.
If you give the quarterback time on those, but like any kind of tosses or anything like that. No, I mean I didn't see anything along those lines. I mean he's just a regular kind of a regular inside outside zone type runner, mostly inside inside zone, I think, and with the ability to get on the edge, and that they'll run some power in front of them as well too. So no, I didn't see any gap. Here's the problem, Alex, that we've got to get away from right now.
Hmm.
This is not Chris Rainey or Dree Archer,
Right.
okay?
Nor can the
So
team treat him as such.
no, they can't. You got to treat this guy just like he's any other running back there. And if you do, then you stand to have some success with him. Look, I'm not going to say he's the next coming of whatever, of Devontae Freeman, but he does have the ability to home run, and he's a better pass catcher out of the backfield than I think many people realized based on his 20-something receptions that he had there. And it's a little bit scary too, the fact that he did play most of last season. Look, he injured that ankle in I think week 3 against Temple.
Yep.
And they he played on that. I think they only gave him one game off somewhere in there later on in the season because that thing wouldn't calm down on him and all. So a much different back than Rainey and Archer. We just got to get out of thinking that's what he is. He is kind of he's Kareth White on steroids, right?
Mm-hmm. A little bigger, a little more powerful. The only question, well, I shouldn't say the only, but the big question is just pass pro. Because if we can't pass pro in a year where Ben's coming off that elbow surgery, it's going to be tough. So backs on backers in camp will be very telling with him. Because that was the first time with Archer and Rainey when they wouldn't even let those guys participate in the drill. And you felt like, okay, this is... Well, how are these guys going to fit? Where are they going to play? And you got that siren going off that you mentioned when those guys get in the game that they're not going to work like a traditional running back. So pass pro with McFarland with that smaller, shorter frame is the question mark I have heading into this offseason, this summer.
Right. There's hardly any of that on tape that I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
And a guy like that too, you're probably going to, if he can just cut somebody,
Right.
Identify and at least cut. He's not going to be Le'Veon Bell back there in pass pro.
Sure, but they got to trust him is the point.
Right.
I mean, and recognition is half of the battle. Look at that Buffalo game last year. That whole line, the whole backfield was all so screwed up in terms of the schemes that McDermott was sending. So recognition is something he probably just has not done a whole lot of, and that'll be a transition for him. Wes, one more question on McFarland. Here's the question I have: could he kick? Is he good enough? Is he good enough? I guess is what Wes is trying to say. Is he good enough to kick Jalen Samuels off the roster? Yeah, I think Samuels' spot is warming up. I think in both our roster predictions, you had Samuels on there, right, Dave?
Yeah, just because I went out of my way to make sure I kept 4 backs.
Mm-hmm. I think somebody else
along with Watt. So I'm not married to. I'll put it this way: I'm not married to Samuels. I would not bet my house that Samuels make the 53 if that I'll put that out there like that.
Yeah.
But look, you got a rookie running back coming in. Probably not going to have the off season, any off season program to work with. Probably, I think they should at least give the kid a chance to return kickoffs or punts or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Whether they will or not, I don't know. But probably not going to be much of a special teams help outside of it unless he does something like that. So with the injury history of Connor and I think it'd be wise to probably, if at all possible, carry 4 running backs along with Derek Watt back there.
Yeah, this was a question that Richard Jameson had a couple of minutes after that. When was the last time they carried 4 healthy running backs? That'd be a good little look back. I mean, it's happened before, and I'm pretty sure under the Tomlin era. I just don't know when it's been. It hasn't been super recently in terms of starting the year with 4 true running backs.
Right, I have to go back and look.
Yeah, that'll be a good little research project. But I think given the investment in the position, they've drafted it so much, that feels like the trend that they're going to go this year. Wade Johnson makes the point about, AB going in the 6th round when Foster undrafted. Doesn't matter what round a player goes in. It's about what they do while playing for the black and gold. I agree, and that's what Tomlin always says. We don't care about how you got here, just you're here, and we're going to work with you. So I think that's the right mentality to take. Donald, thank you so much for being here. Mutated Genome, have you seen anything on tape that makes you think that Claypool can be a number 1 receiver? I know those things are kind of arbitrary, and number 1 versus number 2 doesn't maybe mean a whole lot to us as it does to other people, but what do you think about that, Dave?
I've watched a lot of tape. I got a lot. I'm how many games am I? 4 games into contextualization of 2019 on him.
Mm-hmm.
He played a lot of X, at Notre Dame there. The thing that's 4 games into 2019 going play by play with that, I still view him as more of a kind of a 3rd round talent where I had him all along.
Okay.
Now, look, that game against Virginia that I just finished up, he injured his ankle early in that game, and you could tell it bothered him the rest of the game. So you got to kind of throw that game out for sure there. But the thing that I'm really, really looking for, Alex, in throughout his 2019 season, which I know there's a little of it just from doing other contextualization on his big plays and all, but I'm wanting to find more of it, is his ability to stack defenders on the outside, okay, and and be able to just get past them and force them into being in phase and then gaining a little bit of separation that way. You don't see that a lot with him. And I know the comment him being linear and all like that, and I don't like the way he sits in his route, and I think I've said this for a while. The way he sits on kind of those stops or those comebacks or whatnot,
Mm-hmm.
they're not hard sit down cuts and break back and all like that. I mean, obviously he ran what he ran at the combine, but I don't think you really see that too terribly much on his tape, as far as straight line, take the top off of it. Yeah, he in that game, what was it? Iowa, was it the bowl game, Iowa State? Well, that corner I think slipped or whatnot on the outside, and he got over the top on him that way. But one of my biggest concerns on him. Look, we know he can contest a catch, right?
Sure. I mean, that's why you draft him. That's 90% why you take him.
We know he can do kind of the other things that an X will do on kind of those slants and on the mesh concepts and all like that. He's a heck of a physical player, a blocker. That way, I think gives you a very nice target down in the red zone. You can do stuff slot fades with him as well too. But the thing that I'm looking for, I think the most on him on his 2019 tape is his ability to get vertical and stack defenders on the outside.
Mm-hmm. But just to the overall point about the potential of him being number one at his best, at his ceiling, do you kind of see a guy that can, the whole offense runs through him in terms of the passing game?
Not from where I sit right now, no.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I have some of those same questions as well. Let's see, going through some of the questions. Wes Hickok, to be fair, I also hated the Carlos Davis pick, but not in the way I didn't like McFarland. I think Davis sucks. Yeah, I'm not expecting much from Davis, especially in year one. I think practice squad is best case scenario for him, and if he's just the next Josh Frazier, it wouldn't shock me, though I do think he's better than Josh Frazier. Let's see. Gabar, doesn't the new CBA allow teams to have more than 46 active players available to dress? What's the breakdown on that? What do they carry extra, lineman, running back, etc.? So, with the expansion now, it goes from 46 to 48. One of those guys has to be an offensive lineman, correct? And the other one's, dealer's choice. So, a lineman, an offensive lineman, and maybe an extra DB is kind of my rough estimate of how things might go, but it'll vary week to week based on injuries and performance and etc.
Right, I went out of my way to make sure I only kept, what did I keep, 8 offensive linemen on my 53,
Mm-hmm.
my
I
first
did as well.
53,
Right.
because I think because of the ability to promote players on the weekend,
Mm-hmm.
why wouldn't you?
Yeah, and
Why
they can
wouldn't you
all now all 8 can be active on game day basically.
Right, and why not shuffle? If you need, you can shuffle one up if you need to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. So you start at 53, you can become 55 with the practice squad players that you can get basically just sent up and down the roster throughout the year. So you work with this floating 55-man roster throughout the season. Paul Brown, putting on Dave's tinfoil hat, did the Steelers draft Claypool as insurance for the possibility of losing Juju? Would this be a prove-it year for Juju to show he's the number one? I wouldn't classify that as insurance. I think Juju has plenty of motivation to have a great year and a bounce-back year for himself, for his contract, and a bunch of reasons related to things other than Chase Claypool.
I think they just like the kid too.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think we're overthinking the reading into the selection. They just like Chase Claypool a lot.
I really do. And really, I've come to the deeper I get into this class, Alex, I don't know about you. I think I mentioned this on the podcast. It sure feels like that draft board had like 25 names on it,
Mm-hmm.
And that they were just, whichever 6 or maybe of those 25 names they thought they could get. Now, I'm obviously being, hyper, a lot of hyperbole in there, but it really feels like these are guys that, and look, the team's never afraid to quote unquote overdraft what maybe the masses think, right?
Sure,
You know,
they're beholden to their board and nobody else's, and that's the way it should be.
right. I mean, if they like a guy, they're not afraid to take him, a round earlier there. But it's back to Claypool. Uh, I tell you, you're going to get this kid at least right on the field right away for special teams as a gunner. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, right out of the chute with that. You can do some stuff with him in the red zone. I'm not so sure. I wouldn't kind of, eventually. I mean, he's going to start on the outside. I think Randy said along those lines, but and we'll see what happens with Juju. But I think maybe his best home at the NFL level might be as a big slot.
Yeah, kind of like Juju, kind of like Cooper Cup. I think there's some versatility there, so hopefully they get creative with him. I mean, I think him at the X is interesting. Really, the Steelers generally haven't had big X receivers. I think Antonio Brown, Deontay Johnson drafted his replacement, so I really say Claypool is probably more of a Z type that would rotate in with James Washington, who could move to the slot in some packages as well. That's my vision for him, at least.
Well, he's not going to play a lot of X. We know that.
Yeah, right, because Deontay's gonna be out there for sure. So my thought is yes, obviously special teams, red zone, some sort of specialty packages, and when he's out there, maybe a little bit in the slot, and probably mostly as the Z receiver, which is the strong side receiver, where James Washington and Juju play. Rob Coe, a defensive question. With the lack of a true starter at nose tackle and Steelers playing a de facto 2-4-5 nickel the last 4+ years, do you think Steelers transition to a 4-3 base defense? Get this question a lot every offseason about they're going to switch to a 4-3. Hasn't happened. I don't expect it to happen for a variety of reasons. Keith Butler is still built through the 3-4. I know the lines of the scheme have blurred a lot, but I think your defense is fine right now. Making any sort of those schematic base tweaks is just kind of being bored, I think. I don't think it's going to be any sort of official change to a 4-3. Wes Hickok, I've heard two comparisons and personally made another for Claypool, Calvin Johnson, Mike Thomas, and Mike Evans, mine based on speed size. Do you think any of those comparisons fit? I know with it, testing-wise, he's very comparable to Calvin Johnson, but we're not expecting the next Megatron here. Of those three you listed, I think he's closest to Mike Evans. I've heard Alshon Jeffrey as a comp, and I kind of like that one maybe the most out of all the ones I've heard so far.
Some people will take this as a negative, but he really compares to Jonathan Baldwin coming out of
Oh,
Pitt.
that was not a good first-round pick for the Chiefs. I hope he has a better career.
But
What?
the player,
Yeah,
the player and the traits coming out of Pitt,
sure.
the contested catcher, not 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 hugely big up over the top, a guy that played a lot in the middle of the field. I'm just talking about the player comparisons
Mm-hmm.
coming out of college and college alone. All right. Now look, I mean, you know, you can take two guys with the same skill set and they take totally different paths at the NFL level. So I'm not saying that he's Jonathan Baldwin, going to have a Jonathan Baldwin type career. I'm just saying his tape reminds you a lot of Jonathan Baldwin when he came out of Pitt.
I wonder why Baldwin failed in KC. I didn't really follow his career too much. I mean, was it
He
lack of
didn't have his
separation?
head. Well, he didn't have his head screwed on too tight to start with.
Okay.
You know.
So there was more off the field buying in
Well,
work
I
ethic
think
thing?
I think that played some role in it and all,
Sure.
but I don't know why he didn't become what many look, he's a first round pick, right?
Yeah, 27th overall to the Chiefs from 2012, whenever that was. But yeah, I get the traits because he was a freaky dude coming out. I mean, this guy was drafted in the first round for a reason. Just obviously hope that Claypool will have a much more successful career, and I'm confident he will because, I mean, from that standpoint, Claypool definitely is the guy that high character, like straight and narrow. You don't have to worry about that kind of off the field stuff. Gabar asks, as long as Ben is healthy, the line protects. I like our wide receiver room. Juju, Claypool, Deontay Washington, and Deion Kane. If they need a six, anyone but Switzer, Heavy McFarland out of the backfield. Yeah, I think Claypool gives you four deep, and then you got interesting guys with Deion Kane. And Dave, I wrote about a futures report, and then you followed it up with kind of calling your shot here in the 53-man roster. Not, well, I think you had Deion Kane on here, but Saeed Blacknall, I think, might be that camp super sleeper, assuming there is a camp, that really is going to look good in Latrobe this August.
I think those final two. I'm not, and like I wrote in there, I'm not married to those final two wide receivers I chose.
Sure. Yeah, no one's locked in behind the
I
top
don't
four.
think Kane, as much as the fan base, a lot of the fan base seems to like Kane. I'm not as high as Kane on Kane as I think the large selection of the fan base is there. Either. So I think that's really, really up in the air once you get past the top four with Claypool. Obviously being number 4.
Right, yeah, but a very good top 4, and then some interesting guys behind. So, thanks everyone for being in the chat. We'll be here for the next 25 minutes or so. Feel free to ask any questions below. Corey S says it seems the chat isn't talking about Highsmith. Overall opinion on him so far. Dave, any extra thoughts on Alex Highsmith?
The bad thing about it, we had a lot of games with him, but because of the quality of the TV tape for that for that school, it's hard to get a good look at him. We don't have how many all 22 do we have on him?
A couple, I forget. Not a lot, 3 or 4 maybe.
Not many, right? So that makes him so hard unless he's lying. Here's a good thing: he played on both sides. A.
Mm-hmm.
B, he really, for first year as kind of a true edge player, really showed a lot as far as pass rush ability and all. It's really hard to judge his play against the run. Would you agree?
No, I wouldn't. I think I can judge it accurately as I could for any other player. I think he's got to get stronger. He's got good length and he's got good IQ, but he's definitely got to get stronger and probably add some weight to set a more physical edge.
I would agree with that. I like the way he works back. If he goes up the edge, he can work back. I like that. He just needs to get more refined now. As a pass rusher, and I like that quick step inside that he has. They didn't ask him to drop too terribly much there, but I mean he seems to have the athleticism.
Mm-hmm. There's a couple plays I remember where he did it, not a lot, but
right. I think one was in the end zone on against I forget who they were, who they played. One of them was I think on a 2-point conversion or something. He ran with a tight end or something like that in one of these games. Maybe was it Old Dominion? I forget, but. He's just is going to be a development. I don't suspect he's going to get a lot of snaps right out of the chute.
Mm-hmm.
There, I think probably the goal. I mean, look, he's going to help you out initially on special teams. You would think and hope because he has the background on that. And I would think as the season goes along, you would like to be able to get him on the field, 8, 10, 12 snaps at a time. And once again, the bright spot is he's played both sides. At Charlotte, and once again he progressed nicely in just 1 year as an edge rusher.
Absolutely. I think the couple thoughts there is that while he hasn't dropped into coverage a lot, I think that's become less important. It still has some value, but less important in Pittsburgh because Watt and Dupree both dropped less than 10% of the time last year. When Watt was a rookie in 2017, he dropped 37.8% of the time into coverage. Last year was under 10, so they're really letting those guys go forward and play to their strengths. So dropping into coverage is less of a factor as it was just a couple years ago. I know that on paper it might feel like he's raw because he's Charlotte. He's 1 year playing more of an edge pass rusher position, but I think he's a pretty refined guy. I think he's a smart guy with a good IQ that reads sets well, can attack inside out, and has a variety of moves to counter whatever the set is. If they're going to set too wide, he can counter inside. If they want to short set him, he can win the edge. So I think he's a guy that has good hand use, a good variety of moves and different ways to win. And you might only need 2 or 3 real moves to hang your hat on, but I think he's actually a really heady pass rusher, and he has a pass rush plan, and that's what Jarvis Jones struggled with. He didn't have a pass rush plan. That's what Bud Dupree struggled with very early in his career. He did not have a good pass rush plan. He couldn't read the set or the tackle. Well, TJ Watt's talked about how film studies become really important to him and helped him become the catalyst of the player he is today. So I think when you have the athleticism, you have the IQ, and you kind of have that chip on your shoulder that he has being a walk-on at Charlotte. I think that's a good recipe for success at the NFL level. All right, a couple more questions here. Wade Johnson. All right, wait, let me get to a couple more before I get to Wade Johnson. I will ask that question. Donald Tillman asked, would the Steelers take Hubbard back if he gets released? I doubt they cut Hubbard, at least anytime soon. Chris Hubbard in Cleveland right now. Would they take him back? Probably not. I think they're kind of set, but maybe he could circle back next year if they lose some of these offensive linemen. Corey S. I'll ask the bold question to get it going. Does Highsmith take any snaps away from Dupree this year? None that, more than any other number 3 outside linebacker would normally rotate in. I don't think he's going to take any additional snaps away from Bud Dupree. I mean, I assume you're in the same camp there, Dave.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, getting back to Wade Johnson. What are your thoughts on backup inside linebacker and safety? I'm going to stick my neck out for Gilbert III. I know there's a projection there. The dude is not taking an NFL snap on defense, but from what I saw during camp, during preseason and about half the year on special teams. I think there's talent there. I want to give him the opportunity, should it arise, to get on the field and see what you have in that guy. So I understand some of the concerns about the position. You lose Medikevich, you release Mark Barron, but I'm excited about UG3. Safety is where both of us really sit there and say they got a whole lot of question marks behind Mink and Terrell Edmonds. And so I think if there's one position they're going to address in August in that classic Colbert summer trade, it's probably going to be backup safety. Let's see. Wes Hickok says, yeah, to be honest, Jonathan Baldwin always seemed like a lazy player to me. I feel like he just didn't want it. But he gets the comparison, and I get the comparison as well. Gabar asks, real feeling on outside linebacker depth. Ola can't stay healthy. Highsmith not sure yet. Skipper not sure either. Any options outside? June 1st cuts. I doubt it. I think obviously you just drafted Highsmith in the third round with your second selection. I think they're gonna. I think you have enough competition between those three guys where someone is going to emerge, and they've all had moments of flashes, Ola and Skipper, and I think there's excitement about Alex Highsmith. So I maybe, but I kind of doubt they would add an edge.
Would you bring back Chicolo for the special teams aspect at a minimum salary?
Nah, I think I got it. I want to see what I have, unless there's injuries in camp. I mean, and that's generally the way this team does business. They'll go into camp, they'll see how guys look in the preseason, what injuries happen, and then they may make some moves. But I wouldn't bring back Chicolo.
You got to remember there, if they're going to bring in another edge and it not be injury related, that player is probably going to be a few years under 30 years old. That player is probably going to have some special teams ability on top of it. So, look, I mean, the jury's still out on Ola, and the jury really hasn't even started on Tuzar Skipper outside of. I am interested to see him go through another full preseason with the Steelers, though. I'll tell you that.
And I hope he gets some more reps on special teams, because they really did not do many favors last year, and they should have some more confidence and trust.
You're exactly right. If there's one player that I'm, look, I mean, he had a great preseason from a pass rush standpoint. You would like to see him go against better competition. And as you said, get some special team snaps.
But at least he's gone through an NFL season. He even played a little bit with the Giants. It was 50-something snaps, but still, I mean, that's something. So he should, they should just let him go full out. There shouldn't be any restrictions on him, and he'll have a chance to make the team. Wes, speaking of guys with a chance to make the team, says, my thing is I feel like Kane at least deserves a shot to compete, which he should get. If he doesn't earn it, I mean, it is what it is. Yeah, I mean, behind Claypool, if they will keep at least 5 receivers, there's a wide open spot there. So Kane will have the opportunity to compete for that. A 6 receiver spot is open potentially as well. So Kane's going to have as good a shot as anybody, and, we'll see if he earns it or not.
I don't hate the kid. I just don't think he's a lock. A lot of people make him out to be.
He's not a lock.
Like I said, I put him in my 53, but I wouldn't bet my house on him.
Right, and the fact that Claypool has a similar skill set as Kane, and probably better with obviously the draft pick investment, doesn't help Kane's chances. I don't think it's going to close the door, but it's not going to do him any favors. Wade Johnson, thanks for bringing up Blacknall. I've been pounding the table for this guy for a while, and Haas Yafor says Blacknall's nickname is Megatron Jr. Yeah, he's a really interesting guy that all he did was just catch like 9 routes in Penn State and in Oakland in the preseason, and even the XFL briefly last year. So I think he's a guy that'll look good in lighter contact practices in Latrobe. So I'm excited to see him, assuming there is a training camp.
He can track the ball in the air well.
Yeah, he's a really. I think he ran like 4.37 at his pro day. And had like a really. I think his vertical was a little poor, but the rest of the numbers were all really eye catching. So I'm excited to see him. Rich Westlake, what are your thoughts of the offensive line? It was horrible last year. I think horrible is too strong. I think it ended horribly, but I wouldn't call the line for the year horrible. So yeah, Sean Surratt's got to do a better job, I think, with some of his schematic stuff and that chess game and having better answers to blitz looks. I mean, that Buffalo game reminded me of that Eagles game back in 2009, I think it was, against Jim Johnson, who Sean McDermott's a disciple of. So I have faith this line will bounce back, and of course having Ben helps a lot too. Any thoughts on the O-line, Dave? I mean, you wouldn't classify that as horrible last year, would you?
No, not horrible at all. No, look, I mean, they were they were handicapped too with the teams throwing the quarterback situation and being able to kind of try to take advantage of that and they didn't handle a lot of stuff, especially midpoint of the season on some of those schemes that you pointed out there. But I think horrible is a little strong.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, with the rookie quarterbacks, I mean, Duck had just told a story last week that remember that out he threw to Deontay Johnson against Baltimore.
Yeah, he forgot the hot word.
Yeah, he screwed up the word when he said it first, and I went back and looked at it. You see Villanueva, DeCastro both turned back at him like, what? And then he remembered the right word and he got the protection set and they all kind of helped along. But yeah, so that just kind of tells you what they were working with. I think by the season's end, teams were able to expose it, attack it, and really put that offensive line in a bind. But it did end horribly, but I wouldn't call the line horrible for the entire year. Rob Coe, UG3's pro day numbers good. Do you think he can be a better Mark Barron type coverage linebacker? Yeah, I think Gilbert has a skill set to play on defense, coverage, blitzing, run defense. His tackling was really impressive last year. At Akron, I thought he missed too many tackles. So I think UG3 has the skill set and the talent to earn that longer look. Will it materialize? We're all going to find out. But I'm excited about UG3 in year 2. Jay Wills, how do you guys get access to all 22 for college games? That's kind of the underground. You have to know a guy. Unfortunately, we can't share that information with you guys. I can't share the all 22 links to you guys, but it's not publicly accessible. Hopefully someday, but you know the NCAA, they're not smart people. Wes Hickok, when are we going to sign Cam Newton? I'm being sarcastic, someone had to say it. All right, we've checked that bingo square off. Thank you for that, Wes. Haas Yafur says Connor Pro Bowler this year, 100%. He says Big Ben mistake and injury free equals Super Bowl. I hope you're right, man. That'd be fantastic. Wes says no to Chicolo. Yeah, Dave, don't make me vote you off the island. We want you to stay, Dave. With our draft and free agent...
I'm not for it. I just threw it out.
Yeah.
It's a suggestion.
Right. With our draft and free agent signings, it seems like our team is going to be crazy on special teams. Yeah, it really feels like this draft class was selected in mind of guys. The realization that this rookie class is going to have trouble finding, work on offense and defense this year, just given the whole offseason being pushed back. But a lot of guys, Claypool, Highsmith, Brooks Jr., potentially McFarland in the return game, who can make an impact on special teams right away. So there's a lot of value in that. Glock Lesnar, Switzer sucks. Yeah, Matthew has an article here from today. Stock up for Ryan Switzer. I don't want to discount Switzer for making the team. I had him on my 53. Not that I'm cheering for it immensely, but he is a different type of receiver. And they got like 6 receivers that are 6 foot plus. Don't have a lot of kind of slot guys. And Ben loves him, so I could still see Switzer making this team. Regardless, I know people will hate that, but I still see the path. Do you see the path?
Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't put him in my 53, but I'm not. But until he's not on the roster, he has a chance. I mean, I know that sounds simplistic, but Ben, look, the tape's not there on him, man. The tape is not there on him, and neither is the punt return tape either. So
yeah,
it's to me, man. I don't understand how things will have to go south in a lot of different ways, I think, for him to make the 53, personally.
You think Deontay still does punts this year? Or do you think they try to get him off and then now he's just starting that?
I thought about that, but, who else would you
Switzer.
Else would you get to do it?
Switzer, I guess.
I sure hope they put McFarland back there in the line at least to see, or Cam Sutton, too. People forget that Cam Sutton was a damn good punt returner at Tennessee.
Mike Tomlin has entered the chat to shut that one down, unfortunately. I agree. He looks good. He does it every year in camp. Doesn't do it anywhere else, though.
I think you just got to get past your defensive bias there if you're Tomlin and all. And if it's not Switzer, I mean, who else on the roster can do it right now other than Deontay?
Yeah.
And do you really want Deontay having to do that?
Right. Well, that's the thing, Ed. You want to be the full-time receiver. I mean, I think Deontay will still do it because they had AB doing it for several years. I mean, there were times at the end where they tried to get him off there and no one really emerged. I mean, Jacoby Jones and the like. But I think Deontay's still going to be the guy. If it's not him, then you got Switzer. I think McFarland will do kicks and not punts, though I'm not opposed to it. It's just my gut feeling is they'll have him do kicks instead. It's not a lot of names there, so I think Deontay ends up getting it regardless. Corey asks, what are we expecting from Devin Bush year 2? I expect him to be the full-time linebacker. I think Kevin Colbert basically said as much the other day in a recent interview that he's going to take the every down type of role. He was not the dime linebacker last year. In 2020, he will be the dime linebacker, a communicator and everything. So he's going to be the guy on that defense this year.
He should be the quarterback of that defense this year.
Yep. I think he had a successful rookie year, and you parlay that into year 2. You trade up for this guy, you take him 10th overall. You're going to get your mileage on him, and as you should, and he's earned that right. Rob asks, you said the Steelers, you think Steelers look to add safety after the summer. Who would you like to see? Maybe an Eric Reed or Morgan Burnett return The problem is the list of safety names on the market are not good. I mean, I kind of like Deshaun Gibson, but he just signed with Chicago, so he's off the board. I don't want a Morgan Burnett reunion, and there just aren't a lot of names out there, so I think you probably are more likely to see a trade there at some point, somebody on a roster as opposed to somebody on the street today.
Somebody maybe for a 6th or 7th rounder under the age of 30, kind of more of a backup free safety-ish type player that can play on special teams. It's asking for a lot. I mean, you just going to whittle yourself down a lot, quite a bit asking for that kind of player, but that's what they need.
Yeah. I don't have a name right now. I still think they should have signed Jeff Heath, but that's all spilt milk right now. But I'll have a list closer to August, assuming things stay relatively on schedule. Neutrogena, my Splits ever caught a ball more than 5 yards downfield. I mean, half the time they won't let him run a route past 5 yards. He's got the lowest yards per catch of any receiver with 50-plus career receptions in NFL history. So, pretty wild stuff there. Wes, so Dave, I don't know, this might be a dumb question or a way of looking at it, but is there any correlation between a running back's takeoff after a catch and how he might take off on a punt return? Dave, what say you?
I mean, I don't know kind of what he's trying to get at there. I mean,
I guess the whole burst quick to the tuck, if you show that as a receiver, can you show that as a punt returner?
You look, I mean, you get to watch the punt return lines in camp there. You know, they want you kind of squared up and moving forward, right?
Yeah, I think there's some similarity. I mean, burst is burst. And once you secure the ball, if you're an athletic guy, you're going to show those traits, whether you're catching the ball out of the backfield on a screen or you're doing it in the punt return game. But there is a technique thing in punt return, and if you're not playing, that was a problem with Deontay last year. I mean, I know I got a lot of blowback because I did that critique of him, and 2 weeks later he houses it against Arizona. But in between that time, he improved his technique, and that technique and little things, staying square under the ball, first step forward, not rocking backwards, catching the ball cleanly in your chest. That allows you to unlock that athleticism and talent that we all knew Deontay Johnson had. So there's a technique thing. If a player gets that down, then sure, it can correlate. But you got to do those small things, those technical things. If you don't, it's going to really rob you in terms of what you can do post-return.
Yeah, I don't want to draw any straight hard line correlations, but I think there's a skill set that goes with punt return, being able to judge the foot. There's more than just a takeoff there, obviously.
Yeah. Jay Wills, do you both foresee the team going back to the 5 receiver sets with Ben throwing 50 times a game, or Ben being like Rodgers, accepting this team has a strong defense and needs to run now to set up pass? I think there's an in-between answer there, Jay, and that's where I would lean.
I don't think we're going to see many 5 wide receiver sets, to be personally, and I hope we're not seeing Ben having to throw 50 times a game. Right. I don't think you want to see Ben have to throw for 5,000 or 6,000 yards. To be quite honest with you, I think things are going wrong if you have to do that. I think they want to focus a little bit more maybe on it, or obviously look, not necessarily what I always say, not necessarily running more, just running better.
More effectively.
More effectively
sure.
There. But unless the defense struggling or they have a lot of poor field position, I don't think we should. I mean, I'm hoping not to see 50 times a game or 5 wide receiver sets a lot.
Yeah, again, I think it's that in between. I mean, game circumstances is going to dictate a lot of that stuff. But yeah, you don't want Ben to throw 600 plus times a year, but he's not going to take a backseat. He's still Ben. He's still your franchise guy. And if you don't have confidence in him to be Ben of old, relatively speaking, then you got bigger problems than your offensive philosophy. You got to find your next quarterback. Glock Lesnar, Cam Sutton looked really nice in limited snaps. Do you think he sees the field more this year? That's a good question. I mean, it's just where the path is. The best path would be to overtake Mike Hilton more in nickel, and I don't see that happening because although Sutton improved his physicality and his tackling, he's not at Hilton's level. So it might take an injury for them to do that, unless they want to go really dime heavy the way they did 2 years ago. But I don't know if they're going to do that either. Do you think Sutton's going to play anything outside of traditional third and long dime packages?
No, not barring injury, no.
It's interesting, though, because he's a talented guy, and you do want to get him on the field. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe they could do some stuff where Edmonds spins down and Sutton plays more traditional safety. I'm not sure. I think there are some chess pieces there that I'm interested to see how the team approaches it. Mr. ABS, the ability to get our draft picks on the field will be a plus. Fans wanted to draft starters, but I'm happy with having guys who can help with rotation, rest, potential starters as backups is great. I think that's a really good way to say it, Mr. ABS. Yeah, I think you're going to get guys that can help you day one in special teams. Remember, this team lost a lot of special teamers, whether that's Tyler Medikevich, Anthony Chickolo, Roosevelt Nix, Johnny Holton. So Claypool's going to replace Holton. Brooks and those guys Highsmith are going to replace replace some of the linebackers you lost. Watt's going to replace Nix. So I think that was a really key thing that it gets overlooked. I think you said that well in your comment. Corey Foreman, I hear the Cardinals are willing to trade Hassan Reddick. Think we should trade him at inside linebacker. I liked him coming out of Temple a lot. Don't like him as much now, and I would not trade for him. Again, you have UG3, and I want to see what UG3 can do. So talk to me after camp, after preseason. We can evaluate these guys, evaluate injuries. That's when I think you want to make a move. But yeah, I would not do that today, and I probably wouldn't do it at all.
Back to getting these guys on the field without any rookie minicamp, without any OTA sessions and all, assuming all that does indeed get wiped out, and these guys meet up at training camp and shake hands. It's going to be hard for these guys to get on the field sooner rather than later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you cannot overstate how important this lost time is. I know they're doing virtual stuff, but it ain't going to come close to the reps you can get in the classroom, in the facility, on the practice field. It's going to really set these guys back.
Now, on the flip side, I think as a whole it plays into the Steelers' advantage here because they have more of a veteran team overall.
Right, not a lot of starting holes to fill, which is good. And I wrote an article today, just briefly bouncing off of that, a couple minutes left here in the stream, that I think the NFL, they can't, there's no rookie minicamp this year. That means there's no trial players, and I think that's such a unfortunate outcome, inevitable, unavoidable because of the circumstance. But I think the NFL should expand their roster from 90 to 100 for the start of training camp. Maybe you have a mid-camp cut down. I'm not sure, but I think you got to give more guys opportunities because you got a lot of tryout guys that lost a chance, and we saw Duck Hodges make his way from tryout to starting quarterback, and Adam Thielen, DeMar Dotson, Adam Humphries, guys I have listed in this article. So I think the NFL has to do something to try to expand those rosters to give more players more chances to come in and compete. A couple more questions. Young OG, how many snaps does Chase Claypool get this year? Will he get more time if he does well, or will the coaches opt to play veterans? I mean, if he does well, he'll get the chance to play more, obviously. I think out of the gate, they're going to take it slow, special teams, red zone, certain specialty packages, but if he plays well, his role will expand. I mean, that's probably a cliche, but fair way to put it, I would say.
I don't view him playing, obviously the amount of snaps that Deontay played, last year. I mean, Deontay wouldn't have if Dante Moncrief wouldn't have dropped the ball, literally, that way. So, yeah, I think it's a little bit much to ask for him to play more than, I don't know, what do you say, about 350, 350 would be high?
But all it's going to take is one injury, and
sure.
You're not going to have all three starters probably make it through the season all healthy. So, like, Deontay Johnson opened the door on those circumstances. Could happen to Chase Claypool. We'll see. I want to go more rapid fire through these last couple because we do have a several to go through here. You're welcome, Wes. Wes also asks, is your feeling right now that Brooks will take Allen's roster spot? Those two guys you talked about earlier, 2 dogs, 1 bone. I think that's kind of what the same feel is with Brooks and Marcus Allen.
Hard to imagine Brooks not making a roster. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I think he will do very well in special teams. He's got an energy and tone center that I think will endear himself for the coaching staff. So Rob asked, do you think Antoine Brooks is a backup linebacker, backup strong safety to Edmonds? I think he's going to start at strong safety and they go from there. But as Clover said, as we've talked about, he's versatile. He can line up and wear different hats, and that's partly why this team drafted him. Glock Lesnar, do you think we could trade a 5th for someone like Jernigan to play nose tackle? Do they even have a 5th rounder next year? Maybe. Maybe. I mean, I'm certainly open to it, but we'll see. I think those things will be answered much further in the training camp. Let's see. David Solenberger, when do you think the Steelers will look for a serious successor to Big Ben? I think next year is possible. I think it's partly contingent on what Mason Rudolph does in the preseason and camp. And no, it will not be Mitchell Trubisky. I saw that article today, and we are in the offseason when I'm seeing Mitchell Trubisky to Pittsburgh articles. And I think that's actually about it. The key for the Steelers will be Tomlin. I hope he doesn't make bonehead mistakes. Control the team. I think he'll be okay. And so I think that's basically all the questions. If you want to ask one really quickly here last second. Otherwise, Dave and I will wrap up the stream. We'll be back next Monday at 7 p.m. All right, 2 more questions to close things out. I'll let Dave, you can answer both of these. Brooks seems like a bigger Mike Hilton. Will they be competing for time?
No, Mike
Yeah.
Hilton's going to be your nickel. Going to be in that same role that he's been in. Well, look, it's going to be once again, it's going to be hard for Brooks to see the field, especially with no offseason program. He's going to see the field on special teams initially, and hopefully it doesn't get to the point where you need to see Brooks on the field much during his rookie season.
Right, but with safety depth as thin as it is, that may end up happening. But I agree, they play different positions. Blake Munchell, thanks for being here. Blake, speaking of Marcus Allen, is there any way he makes the final roster? I think he's not practice squad eligible anymore, so this is pretty much it for him. I believe he's still practice squad eligible, but Dave, do you think he makes the 53?
I think there's a chance. I mean, look, there's not a lot of safety depth on this team, right?
Mm-hmm.
So ideally, I mean, I think I have him going to a practice squad on my 53 there. The fact that he couldn't make it last year's kind of out of the chute was a bit discouraging when it comes to him long term.
Yeah, he's been going in the wrong direction. Two more questions. Jay Wolves, Canada become run game coordinator. Typically that's held by the offensive line coach, so Sean Surratt. I think Canada's got his hands full with quarterbacks. And Wes, who are your Super Bowl MVP guests when we win the Super Bowl? I'll go with Big Ben and complete that Hollywood story. All right, guys.
Right.
Yeah, I hope I'm right too. All right, guys. Thank you so much for being here again. We'll be back next Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Thanks for being here. Be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll talk to you soon.
Peace and love, everybody. Thanks for joining us.